39th episode po tayo, and we will be already moving towards the gift of a true apostle to the Father in His kingdom. And this gift of Jesus is epitomized, culminated by what we would say to be His standard, His signature, when He says, I came to give life to the full, for which He said, I am the good shepherd. Let's listen to this passage in the Gospel of John to inspire us what it means to be an apostle, to share the value of our baptismal consecration, and of course, to want to live it out to the full.
I am the good shepherd. A good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. A hired man, who is not a shepherd and whose sheep are not his own, sees a wolf coming and leaves the sheep and runs away, and the wolf catches and scatters them. This is because he works for pay and has no concern for the sheep. I am the good shepherd, and I know mine, and mine know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I will lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that do not belong to this fold. These also I must lead, and they will hear my voice, and there will be one flock, one shepherd. This is why the Father loves me, because I lay down my life in order to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down on my own. I have power to lay it down, and power to take it up again. This command I have received from my Father.
Shepherding. It has a very common usage in the whole Bible, from time immemorial that extends to the time of Abraham. If you remember, Abraham and his nephew Lot had come to odds because their shepherds, those that they asked to help them shepherd their flocks, were fighting. And so Abraham would tell Lot, decide which way you go. If you go east, I'll go west. If you go north, I'll go south. And so we can say it goes as far as Abraham. But Moses is seen as a shepherd also, because he led the Hebrews out of Egypt with staff in hand, bringing them just at the threshold of the promised land, Palestine. That leadership, that servant leadership, that is the shepherd. But if there is Abraham and there is Moses, one cannot just forget David. David, who was taking care of a flock, even forgotten by his father Jesse that he was existing, until Samuel said, do you have other children? Because these sons of yours are not chosen by the Lord. And he read, oh, David taking care of the flock in the field. And so this anointed king of Israel became the shepherd of his people. In fact, it is acknowledged that he sang. He was good at the harp, and when he prays, he sings. And what was his song? Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. This shepherding of the Lord, no longer of men like Moses, Abraham, or David, will be sung or prophesied by Jeremiah and Ezekiel when God will sigh and discuss over how the religious leaders did not really shepherd his people rightly. And so he promised to be the shepherd himself. So it's not surprising that the end point of this promise of God through the prophet Jeremiah and Ezekiel would now be the person of his only begotten Son. And so, as we have heard in the Gospel of John, he refers to himself the image of the Good Shepherd. Now, there are two big twists in talking about he is the Good Shepherd. Not just the Lord is my shepherd who brings, as we could see in the Psalm 23, the sheep to green pastures, beside quiet waters, guiding them on the right path, even defending them in the darkest valley. No, Jesus says there is the big twist that when people were shepherding or taking care of the flock, it was meant to sell them for the sacrifice or to eat them. Never did it ever occur on any shepherd's mind that it will be the shepherd that will give his life for the sheep. So, this unimaginable image that Jesus says is the fulfillment of the Father's desire, that to be able to show the heart of the Father to humanity, God so loved the world, he gave himself, his only Son, so that no one who believes may perish, but rather may have the fullness of life. Now, brothers and sisters, how could you have the fullness of life when that fullness is only God's? No one can give us the fullness of life. Since God has the fullness of life and loving the world so much, he sent his only Son. And his Son says, I lay down my life for my sheep. And from that moment, he would say that to Peter. You will have to love your sheep and take care of them, and then they will take you where you would not even want to go. This example of Jesus and later all the successors of Peter, priests, bishops, and all Christians, even parents, educators, mentors, clergy of the church, are asked to lay down their life. We are so fortunate to have a Pope Francis who truly epitomizes, who truly shows who is the true shepherd. This may be a little banter at the early stage of his papacy, but today we know, after 7 years of papacy, he is really a shepherd who is laying down his life with all that what people tell about him. But also of recent memory, we have specifically Pope John Paul II, Saint John Paul II, who placed his life on the line in order to meet the people. If you look at this scene in India, this was in the earlier part of his going around the world. In fact, after that, he came to the Philippines in 1981. But then that year, he was felled by a bullet. The 13th of May, 1981, right on the feast of Our Lady of Fatima, where an assassin's bullet shot him where he nearly perished. As he fell, Jivich, you could see that Monsignor, right on his left ear, heard him say, Madonna mia, my mother, my, my lady. And he fell into unconsciousness. For this reason, I sought a person who has dedicated his whole life for the intention of shepherding college students in the different campuses of the University Belt of Manila, whether these are Catholic run or non sectarian. Let us meet him and let us hear his life testimony.
Hi, my name is Raul Roncal, and I was asked to share with you my life. The passage that we're reflecting on is taken from the Gospel of John, chapter 10, which is the chapter in the Gospel of John where Jesus describes himself as the good shepherd who is willing to lay down his life for his sheep. Let me begin by just saying that there was a time in my life I hated the idea of being shepherded, being guided, because I was a rebel. I like to disobey my parents a lot. I think it's just part of being a teenager because I wanted to do things my way. I remember one time, you know, my mother did not want me to go out with my friends. I decided to disobey. You know, I still went out with my friends, and I went home very late. I was a teenager already by that time, and my mother, of course, scolded me. But I did the worst thing that I could possibly do to my mother. I cursed her. Minura ko siya. And then my mother was shocked na minura ko siya. So, and she told me, I will tell your dad. Of course, my dad eventually went to my room. And my dad is a very patient man. You know. He was a teacher in Don Bosco for many years and known to be a very patient man. But seldom would I see him angry. Sometimes he would get angry with my mom, gets impatient, but then he would cool down. And so he approached me in my room and I said, "Oh, I heard about what you did to your mom." I made the big mistake of saying something like this. May problema. And then my dad punched me in the gut. Sinuntok niya ako. For a few seconds, I could not breathe. And when I recovered, I looked at my dad and he was clearly agitated and angry. And he immediately apologized. Sorry, I hit you. I should not have done that. But I was just shocked at how disrespectful you have become. Sabi niya lang sa akin, remember this, you don't disrespect the people who love you. Your mom was doing what she was supposed to do because she loves you. Same thing with me. And then he left the room. I think the punch that he gave me was very painful. But what he said was even more painful. Ganun ka na ba kasama, Raul? You're willing to disrespect your parents just because you want to do things your way. But I did not change. I still was my rebellious self for a few more years. At some point in my life, I was asking, ito na ba? I mean, I was in college already. I was doing well in school, but I was, doing my thing, partying here, going to confession once in a while, going to mass. I wasn't taking my faith seriously. I was, again, going my way. But then I was invited to a retreat by one of the priests in Don Bosco, this retreat was sponsored by Christ Youth in Action, a movement of young people who were dedicated to help others find the Lord or find Jesus Christ in their life. And so I went to the retreat. And I was struck by the kind of people who were there, young people like myself. This was back in 1984, long, long time ago. And they talked about God and talked about Jesus as if Jesus really made a difference in their life. And I was envious, not because of their religious approach to life, but I was envious with the kind of confidence and the kind of peace that they exhibited, because I did not have that. So I was curious, and I kept on attending the seminars that they were sponsoring even after the retreat. And in one seminar, it's called the Life in the Spirit Seminar, which is a series of presentations on the basic ideas of the Christian faith. There was this session wherein we were given a chance to think about our life and to think about our relationship with God. And for the first time in my life, I thought about it seriously. I said, "Are you happy with your life, Raul?" And I was not that happy. I was looking for something more. In that memorable seminar, that prayer session, I did make a choice, and I said, "Lord, okay, I will try you out. I will live a life that's pleasing in your sight. Be my guide to a better life." And after that, I started doing small things to change my life. I started avoiding too much partying. Um, I started avoiding my vices. I started studying harder, and started things started to change in my life. One classic example that I could give you of a clear indication that I wasn't doing things my way anymore was in a party with my friends. And we did crazy things when I was in college, and I was one of the leaders of the barkada. And we were in a party, and at some point they wanted to watch a pornographic film. And I found myself in a situation wherein I said to myself, I have to stand up for what I believe in. But then my friends would make fun of me. But I wasn't guided by myself anymore. I knew that my guide was God, and my guide was Jesus Christ, and I knew the right thing to do was to say no to this thing that we were about to do. And eventually, one of my friends saw me reacting, and I just blurted out to everybody, uh, "Let's watch something else." And for a while, they did not take me seriously, but then after a while, they looked at me and they said, "Seryoso pala to si Raul, ah." And I said, "Yes, I'm serious. We know it's wrong, and we should respect women more." Um, and they decided to change the movie. I don't know what happened when I left the party, but for the first time in my life, I ended up uh, doing what was right, not in my own eyes, but I know that it was the right thing to do because of my newfound faith. And things began in my life, a lot of transformation, change, to the point that after graduation, I was given an opportunity to think about what I wanted to do with my life. And at that point, I said, why not try the possibility of becoming a lay brother to join this missionary group called Servants of the Word, whose main task was to help other young people discover the faith. And I said, why don't I try it out? Why don't I try out the possibility of helping other young people discover what I discovered in my life? And so that's what I did. After graduation, after finishing my board exams as an electronics engineer, after I passed, I decided to join the Servants of the Word, a lay brotherhood of men who are dedicated to proclaim the gospel, especially to young people. And then I was assigned to work for Christ Youth in Action. And in that um, stint, I began helping young people discover their faith. Uh, and let me share with you a few sort of experiences I had of helping others and guiding others to find Jesus in their life. I was asked to lead a small group of men in a retreat, a small discussion group. And in that discussion group, there was this guy who was not paying attention the whole time. Lagi siyang parang tulog sa sessions. And I was being impatient. But then I said, no, I was this like this young man before. And I just patiently talked with him. Consistently, all throughout the retreat, I was reaching out to him. At some point, there was this prayer session, similar to the prayer session I had when I gave my choice to follow the Lord. And we were doing that same session. And in that same session, I saw this young man pray. And I saw him cry. And he gave his life to God. And I was having a conversation after that. And he said, thank you, Kuya Raul. Because of you, I made a choice that I think I would never regret. I've been looking for God all my life. And that was a wonderful experience. Another example, I'll give you two more. I was guiding this young man who was a consistent dean's list in his school, always number one. But he did it by cheating. He was good, but he always wanted to do more to make sure that he would do well. Then I started mentoring him, started attending the seminars, the Life in the Spirit seminar that we were sponsoring. And at some point, he also gave his life to take his faith seriously. He gave his life to the Lord. And as I was guiding him and trying to help him live a more honest life as a young man, he was so happy one day. He approached me. Raul, by the way, I did something crazy. What? I got a 70 out of 100. You know, I told him, you used to be very sad if you get less than 90. But why are you so happy that you got 70? Well, because Raul, for the first time, I did something honest. I just did the exam, did my best, and it was not because of cheating that I got 70. And I'm happy that I did it. This young man is now a married man, very successful in his career, faithful to his wife. And I always remember that day when this young man discovered that there is something more to life than just being successful. Another example, it was this young man that I was guiding, and he liked women a lot. He jumped from one relationship to the other, and he was known to be a playboy. At some point in time, again, I led him to a relationship with the Lord, and he also, in a Life in the Spirit seminar, gave himself to the Lord. And I started guiding him in his life, started teaching him how to live a better life. Many conversations. At some point in time, I had the privilege of continuing that mentorship relationship. And I was struck one day when he told me, oh, I'm about to get married, and I'm worried that the person that I will marry, I love her now, but what if she changes and doesn't becomes, somebody that I don't like anymore, somebody who's not beautiful anymore? And I told him, so you'll marry your wife just because she's beautiful now? I promise you, you would never marry anybody who would remain beautiful for the rest of your life. But are you willing to really love this person, because that's the better way to live, to love out of commitment, and because you will be happier that way. And he kind of not, yeah, I've heard that many times from you. I became their ninong in their wedding, um, and I'm proud to say that this man has remained faithful to his wife, and is a proud husband, proud father, faithful man. I began this story by telling you that I was a rebel, did not want to be guided, wanted to live my own life. But then I discovered that the best life that you could live is a life guided by Christ. And I was guided by many other people in my life. A confessor, a Salesian priest who's now a bishop, Father Panfilo. Some of you probably would know him. Guided me, and many others. But then I was given a chance to also guide others and to help them find Christ. I am not the good shepherd. Jesus Christ is the good shepherd. But I was given the privilege to point people to Christ. And it has been a wonderful experience. And I continue to enjoy my work of teaching, wherein I'm given an opportunity to also point young people to Christ. And I'm so grateful that I've been given that opportunity in my life. Jesus is the good shepherd. There are many others out there who are shepherding us to live our lives for other things. But I think we need to listen to the good shepherd, because the good shepherd is the one who would lead us to greener pastures. And I hope that many of you out there who are mentors and teachers, who are also in one way shepherding, but shepherding in order for young people to discover the good shepherd. Keep up that good work, because I think we need people like you to continue helping young people discover the good shepherd in their life. Thank you very much for listening to my story, and I hope that is a source of encouragement to many of you. Thank you very much.